Welcome to the latest episode of Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app. On Apple, recommend Apple Podcasts. On Android, we recommend Spotify. You can also check out all the other South Florida content on the Five Reasons YouTube channel. Off the Floor is our Discord server, $2.99 per month. You can cancel at any time. Link is right here in the description. Get access to the most heat anywhere, the most heat information, conversation, and everything else. 10 different channels plus stage shows. It's Off the Floor. Also, Prize Picks, legal in the state of Florida, our daily fantasy partner. Use the code 5, F-I-V-E. Put down your 5, get your 50. You know how it works. Can play NFL preseason now. Yes, that's probably means that you're not in a good place in your life, but I did it tonight. Use the code 5, F-I-V-E, put down 5, get your 50, prizepicks.com. And now, today's episode.
Mercy, luxurious, Heat Nation, yeah, Mercy and Lago, down to Biscayne, yeah, 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs, where here's the thing, you can check the score, hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs, down to Biscayne. Kept the floor playing, got it all band. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the Five Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
All right, welcome back to 5 on the Floor. Here's today's floor plan. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick on 5 Reasons Sports. I got Brady Hawk. You can follow me at Brady Hawk 305. We are doing 2 ongoing series here on the podcast as we kind of snake through August and try to get towards training camp. We'll break in with news as it happens. The Haywood Highsmith injury. Alex and I did that episode, so that's up. But we're looking at the past series of episodes, either hosted by me or Mateo Mayorga from our network. He's actually already spoken to Ira Winderman, Michael Wallace, Tim Reynolds, and Eric Reed. So those are all going to end up on the podcast with their recollections of the 2006 championship. But we're also talking about present and future. And for that, we're doing a State of the Heat series. And instead of listening to me, I'm waiting until the end. I'm bringing on the other hosts of the Five Reasons Sports Network. They have to bring a word of the day. It's like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And after that is, I'm not Mr. Rogers. And after that is over, then I'll do an episode sort of picking my word from all of their words. So, Brady, the word of the day is?
So I had a word, and then I chat GBT'd it into a new word. So that's where I'm standing right now.
Okay.
My word is seeking. And and let me tell you how I got there. So
okay,
when you first told me bring a word just right before we started this, I was going to say clarity. But then it's if you just see that word next to the current state of the Heat, I kind of been thinking that they're looking for clarity. That's kind of where they are right now. Like this current season is kind of a bridge year for them where they can kind of find that clarity. And if you look up what's another word for looking for clarity, it popped up seeking. That's why I ended up leading me into seeking. But the reason I say that is because there's a lot of ways that they could find clarity with the young guys on this roster. It's a lot of things we talked about this entire offseason about seeing what they have in Khalil and what he's going to be in this league. Not that you're going to make all your decisions off this upcoming season, but it's a big year for him. Jovic, we're going to be getting to extension talks pretty soon. He's somebody that they're going to try and give a bigger bulk to this season on the roster. There's going to be more clarity on what his role is going to be in this league and with this team. Jaime Jaquez, is he going to be the guy closer to his rookie year version, or is it going to be closer to what we just saw this past year? I think this year, out of all the guys I just mentioned, is going to give the most clarity probably out of any of the young guys of what you kind of have. Then there's the clarity in seeking clarity with the extension talk. What is going to happen with Tyler Hero and his extension? What are they willing to give him? What do they value with that? And if they value that at a certain cap number, do they circle back and look at Norman Powell? If maybe there's a situation where he looks really good and there's a number that they can kind of land with and they land back on there. So I could keep going down the line, but I think clarity, I feel like would have been too strong. And the way you were just like throwing at me that Alex's word and satisfactory was a little too strong. Maybe clarity would have been too strong as well, but I think they're in a year where it's like right before they can find clarity. Like it's pre-clarity. They're just seeking. They're seeking a lot of things right now. And the last thing I'll say is they're still, as a front office, seeking that next move. I mean, this isn't the finale, right? So it's still what is out there. I mean, who's the next guy? I mean, we do all these podcasts on these different guys that come available that are probably not going to happen. It's probably unrealistic, but they're still seeking a lot of those things. That's kind of been their motto, I feel like, over the last few years. Like they've just been seeking, and it hasn't really landed with a lot of the really big names. But that's going to be my words. Just seeking.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the word clarity, though, because clarity is what I was trying to get with Alex, because his word was satisfactory. And I'm like, okay, we got to be clear on this one, because you don't want to say satisfied, because I don't think anybody is satisfied with where they are right now. He was kind of saying that the offseason was satisfactory. I'm with you on this, because I do feel like this is a bridge year. I know we don't want to say that out loud necessarily, because it gets people to tune out. But I do think that they are still somewhat in search of a direction. Like they've chosen a non-Jimmy direction. That is clear. They're not going to sort of pile on to the Jimmy era. That one is over. Duncan is gone. Everybody was pretty much gone from that era except Tyler at this stage, and I guess Haywood, who now is injured. The rest, I mean, Jaquez was towards the end. Jovic was towards the end, didn't play a lot. Rozier, of course, was picked up towards the end. So it's a little bit of a different deal, um, than what we've seen before, and that this is definitely a different team. Like this is not running. You can't say that this is running it back if you're to look over the totality of the last couple of years. Now, Heat fans will say, we'll go ribbit, as Riley said, because they'll be like, they haven't done enough. And I'm not arguing that they have done enough, or that the Norm Powell move, means all of a sudden this is a transformed roster. It's not. But there are a lot of players in this rotation that were not in the rotation before the trade deadline last year. Davion Mitchell, even though he's brought back. Wiggins for now, right? Jovic was a starter last year, and obviously, but we're expecting him to get even a bigger role probably than he had as a starter. Pelle Larsson, probably a rotation player this year, was not last year. Kel'el Ware was not, as of the All-Star break, was not a starter. Now we're anticipating, provided he stays on course, that he will be. So, yes, Bam and Tyler are still sort of out there out front. Some people are going to say they're running it back, but they are different in a lot of ways. But let me ask you a couple questions here. And then on the other side of this, I'm going to challenge you a little bit like Alex did to say, what will get you off of your word this season? Like when will they no longer be doing, when will it no longer be what you're saying now? Okay. But I'll start with this part. When they have typically been seeking in the past, okay, in other words, trying to find a direction, trying to find out about players, there have always been surprises. Like we will go into it expecting this to happen or that to happen, and it doesn't happen. Sometimes it's injuries. Sometimes it's just player falling out of favor with the coach, in this case, Spoelstra. When I look at what they're seeking this season, to me, the number one thing is, do the young players pop? Like that is the absolute number one. Would you agree with that, or is it more like I don't feel like there's a lot of meat on the bone here to seek with Bam. I think Bam is pretty fairly close to fully formed. I think Tyler is too. I think they have to make a decision on whether what he provides is worth what he's going to be asking for. But is it the young players? Is it seeing whether Ware, Jaquez, Jovic in particular? I don't think Kasparis factors into this necessarily this season. Maybe Larson a little bit. Is that the biggest thing that they're seeking?
Yeah, because you mentioned picking a direction, and it's like, yeah, they added Powell, and I think we could both agree, like, we like that pickup. I think it's going to make it much more fun for this roster. I think he's going to be a really good player for them. But, like, when you're thinking about, like, the long-term direction of this team, it's not going to be Norman Powell's team. Like, this isn't, like, a direction when you're still kind of middling in the East and trying to find your feet a little bit. I just feel like it is the young guys that are going to move the needle. And that's why, I mean, when you talk about them, like, seeking certain things, like, sometimes you, like, it almost feels like we're getting to this point with Jovic where I kind of like want to pump the brakes a little bit, because I feel like we're like focusing on like when you overly focus on one guy or one thing making the jump for your team, I just feel like it never ends up working out. So like when you were just talking about like it not like happening fully when you kind of focus on it, Jovic is that player for me, because like we're saying this could be more on his plate, and it's more so just about like finding his role and everything, but it's like thinking he's going to be the guy that's going to just take your team to the next level and just change everything. That's where you kind of got to pump the brakes. But I think it's just the young players as a whole. Like, can you find a core of your young guys, whether it's Kel'el, Nico, whether it's Jaime coming back with a better season, whether it's Pella, whether it's Keyshawn Johnson down the line, can your young players, can you just feel confident going into that offseason where you say, we feel very confident with our young core? Like, where I don't want to say they're not on the trading block at all, but like where you're like not just like throwing them out there on the trading block, where like you're like, okay, we want these guys back with us 100% next season. Like, we're not thinking twice about it. That's an ideal state to be in. So I think that's just the number one. And Kaspers as well. I didn't mention him kind of in that young core, but it's just that's kind of the number one thing. Like you mentioned, the extension stuff, as much as it is going to be a topic and all that crunching number stuff is important, I think a lot of times that stuff ends up working its way out somehow, like just time. Like that stuff will work its way out at some point. The picking a direction with this roster, and like things change if one of your young players pop. You said the word pop, but like you're just that formulates a direction that allows you to make. And honestly, that leads into the next stuff. Because like if you have a player pop, maybe you feel more confident with giving this guy a certain number, whether it's Powell or Tyler, or maybe it's Nico. And with a certain extension, I just feel like the young players is where you start. Because I mean, if you're not a top 3 team in either conference, you have to lean on your young guys to an extent. It doesn't mean you have to go full rebuild, but you have to have because if it's not for the exact right now, like where you're saying we're winning a championship this year, you have to have a little bit of an upside with your roster with some of your younger guys where you could feel confident that you could still improve year over year without, adding significant changes. So, yeah, to me, it's 100%. It's kind of been the theme of this offseason for me, but it's going to be the theme of the season. It's just trying to see what you have with your young guys. And like, that's the next step here. Like, just see what you have and see what they are.
I don't think it's just on the court either. I think it's off the court too, and how they react to certain things. And I think that's going to be critical this season. You know what's critical if you're trying to protect your money? Signing up for Cash App. We tell you this all the time. We've already told you that you should use the code on the floor. We've got a great promotion there just to sign up for Cash App in general. But there's also the security component here, because we know there are some weird scams out there. With Cash App, you can spend, save, and live your life knowing your money is right where you left it, with advanced built-in security protections you can count on, and help when you need it. Spend with peace of mind today and order a Cash App card in the app or at cash.app/card. Your security deserves to be a priority, and Cash App treats it that way. With Security Lock, Cash App requires a successful Face ID or biometric authentication to access your account. It's like your money is protected by your own personal bodyguard, even if you accidentally leave your phone unlocked and someone gains access to it without your knowledge. You don't want what happened to the heat, in the back with all the memorabilia being stolen. Make sure that you get the security at Cash App for your money for a limited time only. New Cash App customers can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash for real. Just download Cash App, use our exclusive referral code on the floor in your profile, send $5 to a friend within 14 days. You get $10 drop right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Instant discounts provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. Okay, so you say they are seeking. What will lead you to believe by the end of the season that they have found?
So this is where it gets tricky, because I have a pretty vague word where, like, I think around the league even, I'm like, what teams aren't seeking? Like, at least something, like that's the issue with the vagueness of the word. Like, there's like, even the OKC Thunder, who just won a championship, are still seeking, something with their roster. But I think in the context of what I'm talking about, I think the ultimate goal is adding that main star. I think that's the number one thing. Not to make it all about filling Jimmy Butler's shoes, because I think it's been more so this year, and last year has been about avoiding that, like not having to fill his shoes, like making this roster a new direction, a new team, just a new build in general. But I do think when it comes to competing and what this roster, what this organization always looks for, it is that guy. They need that guy on the roster, and that's kind of what always the theme is of any trade deadline or offseason. But that would be the closest thing I'd say to say they're not seeking anymore, is like if you get that guy where you feel you're a top 3 team in the East, top 4 team in the East. Otherwise, I just don't think there's a reason to ever stop. The reason I just say it now is like, yes, they've been seeking for a while, but I feel like this year they're in prime position to like do it successfully, if that makes sense, just because of the fact of the way the roster is shaped, just because this is the first full season post Jimmy Butler. Last year felt like a 6-year season, but that was all blended into one, where that second half of the season doesn't count really. Like, this is starting fresh, seeing what you have. So yeah, I don't. Maybe that's a cop out, but I don't think there's ever a point where like they're going to feel comfortable, because let's be honest, I feel like that's kind of been one of the knocks on them in the past, has been that they have been comfortable. Like when they did have when they did have Jimmy Butler, it was that they got too comfortable with their roster when they were getting to the finals, and it wasn't making that next move to punch it forward. So yeah, it's just about not being comfortable ever. You have to continually be seeking, like never be comfortable.
Well, I love that you did this, because the other feature we're going to do here, and you're the first one who gets to participate in this, and I apologize to Alex because he was the first, so he doesn't get to do it, although he can challenge me at the end, is whoever comes on to do an episode here gets to challenge the last person's word. So you have 60 seconds to go at Alex's choice. And his choice was, somebody's going to go at yours, probably Greg, because I think he's next on the list, is going to give him seeking. You have satisfactory, which was Alex's word at the end of the day. Tough question.
Yeah, I see you're trying to create like an internal 5 on the floor beef here. So I'm going to start. Let me just start by saying, when I hear him saying satisfactory, it definitely feels like it's in the context of the offseason. Like it's like the place that they were sitting. Like it's like if you were to tell me last year at the end of last season that they would have gotten Norman Powell in this roster for nothing, or like all the way down the line, it's like, okay, well that's a pretty good offseason. So I kind of see where it stands. But in the state of the Heat in general, when I look at the juggernauts in the Western Conference, and I look at, even though the Eastern Conference is a little bit beat up, where it's going to end up being when it's fully healthy, I think it'd be rough to be satisfied. But let me not say satisfied, because you're saying it's not satisfied, it's satisfactory.
Yeah, very clear. Very clear. Very clear. I kept saying to him, it's not satisfied, right? It's satisfactory. He's like, okay, it's satisfactory.
But I guess my challenge would be, like, if you told Spo the word satisfactory, like I feel like Spo would hate that word. Because
I think so.
Didn't you say something? I think it was you that mentioned something about when he was asked about like the East being injury, just a bunch of injuries, and he was saying like it's a little bit weaker and it's a more opportunity, and he's like, he hates it when it's easier. He hates when there's like like he doesn't want it to be. He wants it to be difficult. Like he wants it to be in that way. So to only turn it that way, I just say, I don't think it would be looked at that from the organization. Like, I think it's a bad thing to look at any team or in any sport to be just satisfied with anything. Like I just said with the word seeking, I mean, Oklahoma City, who just won a championship, shouldn't be satisfied. So if you were to pin me like in a Drake versus Kendrick beef with Alex right now, to kind of like to just try and figure something out to go against him, I would say nobody's satisfied in the NBA.
Who's Drake and who's Kendrick?
I'll be Drake.
Oh, wow. Well, I know who Greg will be next. I know his preference in that one. All right. Appreciate it, Brady. Follow him at Brady Hawk 305. Of course, all of his content you already do. Follow Alex also. It's not look, it is Alex's fault that he didn't change his handle to Alex Toledo NBA, which if he had, he'd have 10 times the followers he does right now. But follow Tropical Blanket anyway.
You'll be satisfied with his content. Like if you look it up. You'll be satisfied.
Yes, I'm with you on that. All right, Brady, appreciate it. Greg's next, I believe, and then Adele, Sean, Brian, others for the network. Eternal is just going to be, I guess the word's going to be eternal. Brady, appreciate it. Thank you.